Thank you for joining us this morning. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Pastor Lindy is currently in Florida with her new grandchild, Lennox Ray. As a result, you'll note that there are some changes to the worship service today. We specifically want to point out that the children's moment has been pushed to a later part of the service. On Sundays, please submit all prayers on the prayer cards in the back and send any announcements to Franklin in the office before Friday. We are collecting the offering before service, so make sure that you drop off your offering in the trays near the door. If you have a prayer request or offering at this time, please raise your hand and someone will come and collect it. Communion will be after worship on the back porch with Jonathan, as well as online. We've made all of these changes to reduce movement around the sanctuary. Also, please note that the bathrooms are now single-use and gender neutral for the sake of social distancing. Please refer to signage. And we've got a lot of announcements today. So family swap meet days. So the Board of Christian Education is sponsoring an opportunity to bring items you no longer need to church, particularly items for babies and children, on 3 Sundays in October. So the 3rd, the 10th, which is today, and the next Sunday, which is the 17th. Please bring items that will easily fit in your car, such as clothing, toys, small furniture or kitchen items, and accessories to church for others in the congregation that may have a use for them. There are getting to be a lot of young children around here. Swipe items may be set up outside as weather permits or else in the fellowship hall. While the swap is somewhat aimed at families with children and grandchildren, we'll also have an area for non-children related items where you can bring those precious clothes and odds and ends you're ready to part with. Any remaining items will be donated to our community partners. Help your fellow parents and maybe find something that you can use as well. Next Sunday on October the 17th at 11:45 in the fellowship hall, we'll be having for the birds, bees, and butterflies event. So how to make your yard bird friendly. COVID precautions will be in place. So social distancing and the mask will be required. We'll also offer a hybrid Zoom link for those that want to participate at home. In the spring, upon request from our Creation Justice team, members of the New Hope Society visited our campus to evaluate it for assessment and provide advice to Pilgrim on moving closer to being a bird-friendly site. So we will have the president of that society here to provide the presentation. And so prior to her retiring, she was a physical scientist for 27 years. And so she'll be a lot of good information for us. And then the Pilgrim Community Action with Durham Community Land Trust. So join members of the Creation, Justice, and Race and Equity teams on Sunday, October 23rd at 8:30 to support affordable housing and get to know our neighbors. We'll be joining Durham Community Land Trust for their Make a Difference Day to help landscape some of the properties they maintain. They do an incredible work locally to create and maintain pockets of permanently affordable housing in Durham. If you'd like to be a part of that, email Felix by October 15th. You're welcome to sign up on your own as well. All the locations are outdoors and people are socially distanced and families are welcome. And then additionally, so we're in October, and so the leaves are beginning to fall and the Halloween spirit is in the air. And so with Halloween falling on a Sunday, the Board of Christian Education wants to bring us some seasonal fun and fellowship via trunk or treat. So there'll be more details in next week's newsletter, but all are invited to bring their costumes, decorate their cars, and of course, bring candy to share. All right, at this time, will you please join me in the call to worship? Come and worship. The Spirit of the living God calls us to gather. Together we will become citizens of justice. Imagine God making the impossible possible through us. A world without hunger, without poverty, without exploitation. Let us worship the one who transforms the world. At this time, as you're able, please stay standing for the gathering hymn. There are no strangers to God's love.
Please join me in prayer. God of justice, will you draw near? Whether we struggle to pay our bills, to feed our children, to find work that sustains, or to live ethically in this complicated world, you promise us there is good news for us. Set us free from stories and systems that destroy, and set us on a path towards one another. Give us hearts that are gracious, and fill us with zeal for justice until together we birth a new world free of exploitation of labor, of bodies, of the land, and of the life you intend for us. This we seek as we turn to you in prayer. The Whitakers ask us to lift up Alice, a Wisconsin friend of theirs diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. She's now beginning chemo treatments. There's a prayer for Carol Rawls, who we lift up this morning. Her husband, John, as well. We pray for peace and healing for them. This morning we lift up Felix and her family, especially her nieces. We ask that despite parental instability, that they feel how very loved and precious they are. And Deanne lifts up Lindy today for traveling mercies as she drives to Orlando to meet her new granddaughter, Lennox. We take a moment to lift up other prayers silently and privately at this time. O God, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Holy wisdom, Buddhist nun Pema Chodron reminds us that fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. When we witness the truth of the world and the truth of our lives and are afraid, embolden us with courage to act compassionately in spite of our fear. Amen. Amen.
The scripture reading this morning comes from Job 23, verses 1 through 9 and 16 through 17. Then Job replied, I am still bitter in my complaint. God's hand is heavy despite all my groaning. If only I knew where to find the Almighty, I could approach the judgment seat. I would make my case to God and expound my best arguments in my defense. But I would also benefit by hearing the answers and get a grip on what is behind all this. Would God get on a high horse in debating with me? No, God would give me the chance to state my case. There, an upright person could make such a convincing case that I would be delivered forever from my judge. But if I go east, God isn't there. If I go west, I find nothing. When God is working up north, I can see no one. When God turns south, I don't even catch a glimpse. The Most High makes my heart sink and makes my body shake in terror. Even so, I am not silenced by the darkness, nor by the deep gloom that covers my face. May our still speaking God grant us wisdom and understanding.
All right. Children and teachers are invited, as you feel comfortable, to come out and spread out between the table and that doorway. All righty. Hey, buddy. Hi. You're going to sit with Papas, okay? Yeah, it's a funny situation.
Papa.
Yeah, you're going to sit with Papas. Good. I see that. Hey there. Okay, so I'll welcome and get us oriented, and then we'll take it away, Nancy Ruth. So hello, everybody. Hello, kiddos. It's good to see all of you. See the teachers too. It is the 20th Sunday of Ordinary Time. It's also Disability Access Sunday. So that's part of why that Nancy Ruth is a person who has a lot of insight into this. So we'll be talking about it with her and with Little Bear, of course. He will be helping. And I'm going to need participation from everybody, not just individuals. There's going to be some times where we're going to be doing turn-in talks, where we're going to ask you a question and you're going to turn and talk to a neighbor about that question. And partway through, we'll take a pause and do the Lord's Prayer and say goodbye to the kiddos, and then we'll keep going because this is going to be our meditation essentially. It's this conversation together about disability. Okay. All right. So here we go.
Okay, here we go. It is Pilgrim Studio. I am Little Bear here to do an interview with Miss Nancy Ruth. Hello, Nancy Ruth. How are you?
Hello, Little Bear. How are you this morning?
Let us know if the mic's good, Nathan. We can fix stuff up now. Fix it up? It's good? All right, awesome. I'm doing great, Nancy Ruth. Yeah, I've been enjoying the fall. So you have some really interesting stuff there that you're going to talk to us about. So my starting question for you, I'm looking at my card here, is what are things that have changed for your body that you want to teach us about?
Well, yes, I have some things here that are really helpful to me. This is my cane.
Oh,
And I use it,
oh, you got it. Perfect.
I use it to help walk and to help get up. See, I can hold on to the chair and hold on to the cane and I can get up.
Well, look
all
at
by myself.
So if you're not feeling super steady, a cane is a thing that can help you to feel steady on your own again.
Then I get out. This is PZ.
What does that
This is
stand
my
for?
walker.
What does PZ stand for? I bet they'll like it.
The first time I went with this walker to physical therapy, I said, the walker's name is Pink Zebra.
Pink zebra, I like that.
And my physical therapist said, okay, PZ for short. So this walker has been PZ ever since. And it's PZ because it's pink and because look, see, I can open this up. And you can see that I have zebra material in here.
Oh, it's a little secret compartment.
That's why it's easy.
Do you keep snacks in there? Do you keep any snacks in your secret compartment?
I keep snacks, and when I'm walking, I keep a bottle of water in there so I can be sure to stay hydrated while I'm walking.
Oh. And what's that last tool you've got there on the table?
Well, this helps me to read.
Whoa, it lights up.
My eyesight is going, and so I have to have something to help me read.
Whoa,
And you see these letters?
it's like a magnifying glass, but all lit
And
up.
I can make them smaller, or I can make them bigger.
Oh, cool.
As
Ooh,
big as I need to.
it was late
So
August.
I can see
I
them.
can see it too.
And I used to be an avid reader. I love to read books. And so this has helped me to be able to do that. And that is a great blessing to me.
Well, neat. Well, so Nancy Ruth, what has happened? What has changed for your eyes and for the way you get around? Why are these tools tools that you have to use now?
What are the tools you have to use now? What has happened?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have a disease called macular degeneration
Macular degeneration.
in my eyes. And so it causes the left eye in particular to lose its sight.
Okay.
And what has happened to my body is I had a very, very bad fall
Oh,
and
no.
really injured my back. And so I'm waiting for the surgeon to be able to do what he can do to help that. But my bones have to get strong enough. The surgeon says now, if he tried to do this, it would be like putting a nail in a piece of wood that was rotten.
Oh, ouch.
So we have to get this rotten piece of wood stronger so that he can do what he needs to do.
And so you have all these tools to help you do the things that you care about doing. Cool. Well, I have a question for you. What are some ways that other people can be helpful to people with macular degeneration or people who have to use special tools to move around?
Well, the special tools to move around are my walker and my cane.
How can people in the congregation be helpful to you?
Oh, well, it's very important that you let me do everything I can for myself. For example, you saw me get up just then. It's important that I be able to get up because I now can do that most of the time. Some of the time, Winola will put her arm at my elbow and help me if I'm struggling to get up.
But she knows specially how to do that. Not everybody knows how.
Yes.
Okay.
But I can give you an example of something that happened very recently where a person let me ask them for help. I was getting in my car and the door was wide open and Felix was standing there. And I knew I probably could struggle and get that door, but it might really hurt my back. And so I looked at Felix and said, would you get that door for me? But she didn't do that until I asked her. And so I encourage you to wait for people to ask for help. So not just jump in and do things that they really can do for themselves.
So if people want to be helpful, they could be nearby, ready to help, and then wait and see if it's asked. Okay, well, that's good.
They could come and take me out because I don't drive anymore.
Oh, visits, drivers.
Yeah, and with the reading, sometimes my eyes get very tired and somebody could come and say, well, I'll read the next 2 chapters of your book to you.
Oh, people reading to you to give your eyes a rest. Okay, I like that. Okay, so we've got one more question for you and me, and then we've got our group question before we say goodbye to the children. Okay, so I bet that you've had a lot of different feelings on this journey, and you're still having some different feelings. What are some of those feelings, and does it help to talk about them?
Yes, I've had a lot of different feelings. That's true. That's very true, little bear. I have been angry at times about what has happened to me because it has taken away so much of my independence and so many of the things that I could do for myself that I now have to have help with. And so I've been angry, and I have trust with God about it. And I think it's okay if we say what we feel to God, because God is here to hear those things and to be with us through those things. I also have been very sad at times when I was having a day when I had a lot of pain. I may sit down in what I call my soft chair at home, and I might cry. And God sees my tears and holds those tears and just wraps me in God's arms when I'm crying.
Thank you for sharing that, Nancy Ruth. That touches me right in the heart. Well, now it's time for our turn and talk moment, our first one. Grown-ups, there'll be more coming for you. I would like for everybody here to turn to somebody and, well, first think in your head of somebody you know whose body works in different sorts of ways. And there's different things that they have to navigate. And I want you to think about that person and then just mention that person to your neighbor and tell them a thing that you know or really like about that person. Okay, let's just take a minute to do that. And then afterwards, we'll do our breath and the prayer and say bye to the kiddos, and I'll rest, and Felix and Nancy Ruth will keep talking. Okay, all right.
Okay, yeah, my dad, his papa has hearing aids. He can't hear.
Yeah.
What? Elliot. Okay, his name is Jeffrey, and my name is Matt. What are his letters? Jeffrey, J-E-F-F-R-E-Y.
And we go over and talk and story. And yeah, it's different every day. And every time we go out.
Are you 3 or 4 years old? 4? Okay, man.
All right. About 30 seconds to finish up that conversation.
You said 30 seconds.
All right, and we'll come to a close. And I think we can turn off our mics because we're going to do the Lord's Prayer, and I don't want to have weird feedback for folks online. Okay, all right. So we're going to get in a vaguely circle-y shape. We're going to send hand beams out to each other. Our loving parent God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
And if you children want to come back and see more about this reader after church, you're welcome to know easier to talk. Okay.
All righty. Yes. Oh, sure. It's on.
Could be adjusted downward.
Okay, how about that?
Okay, is that better?
Awesome. Thanks, folks, for rolling with our tech adjustments. Okay, so let's continue this conversation. So you said some things that are helpful. Waiting to ask. What are some like waiting to ask if you need help, or waiting to see if you need help? Readers, visits, drivers. What are things that people might do not intending to? You know, they're intending to be helpful, but then it's actually not very helpful. What are some things like that?
That are not very helpful?
Yeah.
Well, for example, if I'm standing at the refreshment table out there and there's a cup of water right there, and sometimes Beth will pick up that cup of water and say, "Where do you want to sit, Nancy Ruth?" And I'll go sit somewhere, and Beth will hand me the cup of water that she has picked up. Now, what I had planned to do was to pick up a cup of water and walk around and talk to people. But I didn't get to do that, at least not initially, because Beth had another plan that she thought was what I wanted to do, and maybe was what I did some of the time. And it's not helpful for somebody to make a plan that's not my plan. And what I would encourage you to do, there's a question I would encourage you to ask yourself before you do anything for somebody. And that is, what would it feel like if I couldn't do this? Or if I needed help doing this? And as you think about that, think about how you're going to help, and if you might need to wait and let that person ask you for help before you sort of jump in and do it.
That is good to know. Look, can I just get some hands? Have you ever like intended to help and then realized that you didn't quite help? Have you ever done that? Okay, I just want to make sure we have other hands in the room so that we know this is not about calling any individual person out. This is a very normal thing. And in fact, I think it's a virtue to try and make a mistake versus stay far away because you don't know how to negotiate the situation. So I want to make sure that's part of what we're saying is that like, hey, we make a mistake and then we just recover. We're like, whoops, meant to help, that didn't help. Let me try again. But it's not about us being bad, or being thoughtless. It's just about the journey to try and actually do what is helpful and to actually listen and talk to the person about what they need.
That's right, because people have been maybe totally independent, could do everything for themselves, which that's where I was. Yeah. And I could drive, I could go anywhere I wanted to. And so it's been a hard journey.
Yeah. You started to say a bit when the children were here about what the journey has been like for you. And you talked about specific feelings. I wanted to invite you, if you feel able, to maybe tell us a little bit more of, the kinds of conversations you've had with God and sort of how you've been processing this journey.
Well, I do a lot of meditation on my own, and I'm a part of the meditation group here at Pilgrim on Monday afternoon. And some of the meditations that Nancy has done in that group have led me to a place. She'll often take us to a place and invite us into a conversation with God. And that often allows me to say whatever I'm feeling at the moment. And sometimes on a Monday afternoon, it may have been a hard day. I may have had a doctor's visit that didn't go very well, that I didn't get very good news. And that's hard. And that's often when the tears come. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of tears in those meditation times. And we're on Zoom and we've all closed our eyes in the meditation time. But then at the end, we get to talk about what it was like for us. And so I can talk about what I've said to God, how it felt for me to be in tears in my conversation with God. And often that is the way it is. And I've gotten very comfortable with that. And I believe that God does, as I said with the children, does wrap me in God's arms with those tears, and God holds those tears. And the anger is one that often we think it's not okay to be angry with God. But we've read this, Beth read beautifully this Job passage this morning where Job is pretty angry with God. And when you look at the whole book of Job and all the things that God has put on Job, you can understand why Job might be angry. And his wife at one point says to him, "Curse God and die." That's her line for him. Just go ahead, curse God and die. All these things have happened to you, so go ahead. That'd be the thing to do. Well, that's not what I'm feeling. What I'm feeling is God, could you help me? Could you walk with me through this situation, through what I'm feeling? I can tell you folks, this has been the hardest year of my life. And that's not easy for me to say, but it truly has been, because I've had to give up one thing after another. Give up the ability to walk independently. Give up the ability to drive. Give up the ability to just be able to get up and go somewhere if that's what I want to do. That is hard. And that has been hard for me. And the Pilgrim family, even though we have not been together, some of you, Sandy Cook's right back there somewhere, I know. And Sandy Cook and Chuck will come to our house and sit on our front porch. And Sandy brings meatloaf and chocolate chip cookies. I tell her she can't bring the meatloaf if she doesn't bring the chocolate chip cookies. And she comes with both. And the meatloaf goes in the freezer, and a couple of weeks maybe, we get out Sandy's meatloaf. And we're grateful. I mean, how grateful. Sandy can't even imagine how grateful I am for that. And Winola as well, because Winola has ended up having to do all the cooking, because the thing that's hardest for me is to stand for any length of time. And so I can't stand at the stove and stir something or fry something or whatever. And so Winola has ended up doing all of the cooking just about. And how grateful I am that she has been able to take that role, because I used to do most of the cooking. And she has now taken that, and I'll be sitting in the living room, maybe in my rocking chair, this close to the TV so I can see it. And she'll come and put my tray in my lap with a wonderful dinner prepared. So,
Well, yeah, what I'm hearing you describe is part of how the specific ways that the beloved kingdom can show up is just having people meet you in the moment you're in with small, thoughtful things that are showing an awareness of your situation and helping as best they can.
yes, and Maggie Dalbo sends the best cards ever. I don't know where she gets them, but she gets them, and they come. I don't know how she knows, except the Spirit knows, and they come on the right day.
Well, I think this is probably a good moment for our last turn and talk. So just take a moment to think just about how does this story touch you? What feelings are coming up? Who does it remind you of? What moments in your life or the lives of others are coming up for you? And let's just take a minute or two to share those moments with each other. And if any of you are called to share, maybe we could have one or two people give us a short synopsis of one of those moments at the end. Okay. All right, let's do it. It takes a lot of courage to share that tenderness there. To share it with the whole. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Let's take like 15 more seconds to kind of close it up. Right. Can we get maybe one, maybe two volunteers who might want to just share a snapshot either of what was shared, well, I would say of your own story rather than sharing somebody else's. I know there were some good ones. I heard conversation. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay, I think I heard you. Please adjust if I repeat things that are not accurate. So Maggie was sharing that they were having a conversation about what it's like for people on the autism spectrum, which I think is a really good kind of difference to talk about, because we know that some folks who are differently abled, you can tell, it's observable immediately. But for some folks, autism, people maybe folks with ADHD, it's in interacting with them that it becomes visible. And then there's certain things you can do to be more supportive, whether it's being clear about social cues or having like a clear order of a structure of what's going to happen, posting things visually. And these are kind of small accommodations that can be made in a church setting, in a school setting, and even at home to make life more navigable. That's about right. Okay, cool. Yes, please.
I think it's also important to be very careful to as like adults with autism, when they're out in the world, to be careful about announcing it to certain people, like strangers, or they need to know their environment. It also makes you a target. Manipulation and cause, like, unfortunately, just like real life experiences that I've seen and stuff that
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that if you know something about someone's personal background, however they're differently abled, that you be conscientious of the environment you're in if you are wanting to help or you're wanting to share information, and maybe that you check in before you share information about the person, depending on the situation you're in, because it could create complications for them. Okay, well, I invite you in fellowship to share more of those stories with each other. Oh, hang on, getting all my organized here. Okay, so this last kind of our closing up here will be if anybody has any questions for Nancy Ruth, either about, her experience, or if you maybe have a loved one who has some differences in their abilities, and you're like, I'm not sure how to approach or how to be helpful, if Nancy Ruth might have some advice for you. So if you have any questions.
Or even to.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So I have a question. Like, in my experience, there's someone very dear to me in my family who could very much benefit from some of the accommodations that you shared with us today. And he's like, he doesn't want any of that stuff. But, how can you have those conversations with people and say, like, this Vizio book thing is cool. You used to love reading and you don't read anymore. Just use it.
For the folks online, the question is, what do you do if you have a loved one who could benefit from certain kinds of tools and accommodations, but they're very resistant to receiving them?
You have to wait till they're ready. And sometimes that's a long wait, but you can begin to suggest. I saw at church this, if you're talking about the reader, yeah. I saw this thing at church that this lady uses that was really beneficial to her. Let me just tell you about it. And you tell him about it from my perspective, not that he could use this, but he kind of figures out on his own that maybe he could use this. But you talk about this other person who uses this.
That's good.
Are there any other questions for Nancy Ruth?
And you're welcome to come after church and
yes. I see your hand, Ellen.
Sometimes when I am visiting somebody that's dementia, I see a little bit different element taking place versus waiting for someone to ask for help and asking, would you rather? Because I think sometimes when someone has dementia, or somebody who isn't maybe a strong knowledge or self-management, it might be helpful to ask versus waiting for them to ask.
Okay, so for the folks online, what I'm hearing Ellen say is, are there situations where maybe a person is a little more timid, or maybe they have a different sort of issue going on, like dementia, where suggesting or asking them if they want something or want help with something could in fact be helpful? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to do that. Could it be helpful?
Right.
Could you use this? What do you think about that? Mm-hmm. And even people who are in early dementia can still maybe say, yes, I think I might like that, or no, I don't want any part of that.
So you're saying yes, but ask in a way that gives the person agency.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we did the Lord's Prayer already. So let's just take a moment to just take a breath and let it out. And then Nancy Ruth and I will move to our spots. Thank you.
Beloveds, the suffering of the world scrolls through our screens, wafts in through our radio waves, lines up outside our hospitals, strains at our borders, spills and tears down our cheeks. Let us collect our offerings for this day that we might ease the suffering and aid the thriving of all beings.
Spirit of the living God, may our offerings connect with the wide network of communities doing what they can with the resources at hand to bring about your kingdom, that all may have enough and live without fear. Bless our offerings and accompany us in our efforts. Amen.
Sometimes God is silent. Sometimes God says no. Sometimes God says wait. Walk into that God in this coming week and hear what it is that God is saying to you. And now may the peace of God be with you. Go in peace.